Luna Fest, helping your pets beat the heat, and best management practices for construction. All this and more on this week's edition of Lexington Now. I'm Neil Noah, and this is Lexington Now for the week of May 13th, 2019. The Luna Fest Film Festival is celebrating women filmmakers, and it's coming this week. We spoke to the folks at Greenhouse 17 to get a preview.
So Luna Fest is a celebration of short films created by, for, and about women. This year we have 8 short films produced by international female film directors about topics that relate to women and the lives of everyone. The festival is actually a national traveling film festival made by Luna Bar, the nutrition bar for women. So when you visit greenhouse17.org, you will find a trailer to all the movies. You get sneak peeks, as well as a list of our sponsors and a link to purchase tickets ahead of time.
We are a nonprofit organization that supports survivors of intimate partner abuse. We serve 17 central Kentucky communities, and our emergency shelter and 24-hour crisis hotline are housed here in Lexington. What makes Luna Fest so special and connected to the work that we do supporting survivors of intimate partner abuse is the idea of storytelling. Luna Fest is all about sharing stories by, for, and about women, and we know that right here in our hometown there are thousands of stories of survival that we try to share and tell with permission, and that we encourage survivors to heal and tell, because we know that through sharing our stories, that's where change happens. Luna Fest is held annually, and this year's event happens at the Kentucky Theater. Again, we love hosting our event here. It just feels historic and beautiful and so Lexington. Showtime is Thursday, May 16 at 7 p.m., but be sure to arrive a little early for the red carpets and prize giveaways and all kinds of fun stuff we have planned.
So this year, before the event, we have a variety of activities to really bring the community together. We will have free popcorn grown on our farm, as well as a prize drawing and live music. And that all happens about 30 minutes before the films start, and then 8 films last about time of a regular movie.
So 10 years ago, 3 women came to our executive director and said, we want to find a way to support your mission to end intimate partner abuse. And they decided on bringing Luna Fest to Lexington for the first time 10 years ago. And it's a national traveling film festival, and every year for the past 10 years it's come here to Lexington. It's a wonderful opportunity to get to see films from all around the world. A lot of people ask us what are the films like, and I always say there's something for everyone. Usually every year one of the short films makes me laugh. One usually makes me cry, one kind of makes me angry and makes me want to change something or do something for better. There's something for everyone.
So one of the many perks of hosting Luna Fest in Lexington is we get to preview all the films beforehand. And they did. They all made me feel something. One film in particular was very inspiring for me. It's called Drummer Girl. It is about an Australian teenage girl who's an incredible drummer, and also completely blind. And the film was just about her strength and fortitude and passion to want to be in a rock band, and it was truly inspiring.
Show those boys who's boss. Mom, that's a TV show.
Usually when we think of pets and weather, cold is what comes to mind. But as we head into the summer months, it's important to remember that if it's too hot for you, it's too hot for them. Here's more.
As the temperature continues to rise, many people are doing more and more outside activities.
And like a lot of us, we like to spend our outdoor time with our pet. But we, as humans, take all kinds of precautions. Hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, a bottle of water. We sometimes forget about our four-legged friends like Max here, who are wearing a fur coat 24/7.
To get some tips on how to help your pet beat the heat, I stopped by the Shaybell Veterinary Hospital for some advice.
the time that we see the most heat strokes is now, and so you would think June, July, August, but when dogs aren't acclimated to the weather and the weather changes, that's when we start seeing heat strokes. So April, May, I typically see more than the hottest months, which is kind of surprising. And so make sure fresh water is available. Don't keep them out, if it's over 70 or 80, limited exposure. If you have a very active dog, kind of limit their activity in the heat of the day. Brachycephalic dogs, so dogs with squish nose, Bostons, pugs, boxers, they don't handle the heat well, and so I wouldn't take them to the dog park or running or any outdoor activity, and from 10 in the morning till 5 at night on hot days, because they just can't tolerate the heat. In the heat of the day, keeping them on the grass is better than the hot concrete. Some dogs shouldn't be walked in the heat of the day just because it burns their pads, and so definitely stay off the black asphalt. Sometimes concrete is not terribly as hot as black because it doesn't track the heat, but grass is going to be better for sure. The big thing to watch for is excessive panting is kind of a first sign. So if they can't get comfortable and they're trying to lay down and kicking their feet out and panting a whole lot, they're restless because they're getting overheated. A lot of times their gums will be really pink and injected, and more so than normal. Extreme cases, you'll start seeing vomiting, diarrhea. A lot of times they can have blood pass in their stool. End stages or convulsions can even cause death. And so if you start noticing that, you need to cool your dog off pretty fast and get them to the vet.
And if your pet's like Joey here, who likes to take long summer drives with his head out the window, you gotta make a plan to make sure your pet spends no time in an unattended hot car.
The hot weather becomes crucial time for animal welfare. What you want to make sure you always have handy is extra water for your dogs and cats. If you keep your dogs and cats outside, you want to definitely have an area constructed where they have adequate shade. And it's essential in this time of season not to leave your dogs or cats locked in hot vehicles. A lot of people just want to spend as much time with their beloved pets as possible, so they want to take them on errands with them, which we totally understand. But sometimes you do need to leave your pets at home or with trusted friends and family, because they can overheat really quickly in vehicles, and it is something that we do respond to. So we can potentially go out if your dog is in your car unattended. If you absolutely have to take your dog or cat with you in the car, make sure you have visible food and water present for them. It's not uncommon for us to do a temperature reading inside of a car and it to be above 100 degrees. So it can be extremely hot in there. That's why animals can get into stress a lot hotter, and especially a lot of small breeds that have more breathing issues can get hotter and into stress a lot quicker. So it is something we see very common. So it is important to just leave your pets at home if you can, but if not, always have that food and water available. Every call that we respond to is situational. We do respond to every single complaint that we get, anything animal related, but especially when it's animal welfare concerns. And it just depends on a lot of different factors, how much history we have with that particular person, what condition their animal is, how bad distress they're in. If it's something that can be fixed through education, we always want to do that. But if it's something that's beyond the point of education, then we do have every right on a cruelty case to issue a charge and seize the animal if we have to do that. But we prefer to work with the public and educate them to try to make sure that if it's a pet that they love, that they keep at home but in compliance. We rely 100% on the community to call us and tell us whenever they see an animal in distress, in danger, trapped, or possibly being abused. So please call us at 859-255-9033. That's where you'll get to our dispatcher, and we do have an animal control officer working 24/7. You can always visit our website for information, which is www.lfacc.org, or go on our Facebook page, but those are not for emergencies. If you have an emergency with an animal in distress, you should always call us.
Managing runoff at your summer construction site when we come back.
Hi, my name is Cassie Bell, and my family was saved by smoke alarms installed by the Lexington Fire Department. I heard about the program that the Lexington Fire Department offers through word of mouth. I wanted to make sure my family was safe, and the program being 100% free definitely allowed me to feel okay about calling the fire department and having that installed. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke to the loud beeping. Went down my stairs, and not only was my kitchen filled with smoke, but I had flames going up my wall. By being awoken to the beginning of the fire, in essence, I was able to put out the fire myself. It was good and loud when I needed it. I was grateful to have 6 working smoke alarms. I have 2 daughters, 18-year-old Madison and 14-year-old Allison Bell. We easily could have been a statistic. I would not have woken up until something if I would have even woken up until something major would have happened. And for the Lexington Fire Department to offer the installation of not one but 6 working fire alarms, smoke alarms in our home was something that I was just immensely grateful for, and I want to make sure that other families know about this great program.
Welcome back to the show. As construction season shifts into high gear, there are some important considerations to be mindful of. Jennifer Myatt talks to us about ways to control silt runoff at your build site.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Myatt with Lexington's Division of Environmental Services. I am out here on this windy day today with Chris Holtzclaw, who is an environmental inspector with the Division of Water Quality. Good morning.
Morning.
We are out here, we are going to talk about fiber logs or wattles. So if you can give us a rundown of what those are.
Yes, Jennifer, the fiber logs are a device used, a BMP, an alternative to silt fence that we use on site to prevent erosion and sediment control during the building process of a lot of commercial and residential sites.
So tell me how they prevent erosion first.
Well, when they're installed, and first and foremost, we'll talk about the names. A lot of folks know them as wattles or coconut rolls. They go by a lot of different names, but they're all the same thing. It's essentially a 6 to 10 inch tube with a organic material such as straw, coconut fiber, or compost that's laid in place on site to prevent drainage problems with sediment leaving the site before what we consider stabilization is put in place.
So what do we need to do about installing these on the site? Like, what's the proper way to do it and everything?
That's a good question. Installation generally starts depending on the site. You take a larger site that has a turf mat, turf blanket in place. They can actually be laid on top of the turf mat and blanket. They're staked in about 3 foot, every 3 foot apart, and at the end we stake it in no further or no less than 12 inches from the end of the log. On smaller slopes, home sites such as what's behind us here, we generally dig a trench, a 2 to 3 inch trench with a rounded shovel. What that allows is you're essentially creating a bed for the coconut roll or wattle to lay in. We stake it in the same way, about 3 foot apart, with the ends overlapping at times to prevent any wash through, any undermining that could happen. That is the easiest way. Some alternatives include putting a stake on the downslope side of it to help on steeper slopes. That just reinforces the straw wattle to hold it in place and keep it from what we consider floating up. If there's a situation where there's a large rain, that could essentially float the wattle off the ground.
So when is a good time to use a wattle on a construction site?
Suggested good times for the wattle, we consider it a temporary BMP. In other words, it will last a long while with proper maintenance. You don't want to install it on what we consider high traffic areas where you're going to have deliveries made, vehicles crossing over it. Though it's made to have vehicles driven over top of, the issue you run into is they start to break down. Obviously they're organic, they decompose. We had some issues with them busting open because of the netting material. So in general terms, we like to see them after the final grade is in place before sod or stabilization. At that point, they can be put in place for a 2 to 3 week span, be pulled after sod arrives or stabilization is in place, and then they can be removed at that point, and the site should hold itself.
So what kind of sites work best for these?
Wattles work best on what we consider smaller sites with not a steep slope, I guess you could say. Large sites will require a silt fence where you have a little more backing. Home sites that are finished up that with a small slope, generally semi-flat, are the best places to use them. They can be used on larger sites with the addition of silt fence as a double barrier, if you want to call it. That's the best place to use them, but we generally like to see them on smaller slopes, home sites, and finished projects as they're ending the duration.
Well, thank you for joining us out here today, and I hope that you learned something interesting about wattles today.
This is Craft Beer Week, showcasing the best our local brewing talent has to offer. Here are the details.
Lexington Craft Beer Week is May 10th through 19th. There are 28 locations and over 55 events of any type. Some are at breweries. There are others that are at locations like Wenchel's or Shamrock or the Legends game. There's some at Drake's and the Burl. So a little bit of everything for everyone. So it's most of the local breweries that you love. The point of Craft Beer Week is to celebrate and promote and introduce those local breweries and what they're doing to Lexington. So the hope and the goal for Lexington Craft Beer Week is to introduce local breweries to the city and to people who maybe are familiar with some of the breweries but not the newer ones, or they try something new that they haven't had before. We want to introduce them to all of the things that the local craft beer community is doing. They're great advocates and supporters of the community outside of just beer, and they do a lot behind the scenes for the city of Lexington. So we want to support them and, you know, introduce the city to what they're doing and who they are. All of these breweries are all locally owned. They're all small businesses and all their owners are located here in town. So, you know, we want to make sure that we're supporting them and what they're doing. They support the community through not just beer related things, but through outreach and community service and things like that. So, you know, while it's great to support local businesses, we also want to make sure that people realize all that we have to offer when it comes to craft beer. You know, Brewgrass Trail is a sponsor and partner of Lexington Craft Beer Week, and they've got the booklet that you can, you know, take around to the different breweries, and they're doing a great job of helping promote that as well. But this just further continues that outreach and promotion of what's happening with the craft beer scene. Chris, the owner of Lex Beer Scene, and a couple of others felt like this was a great opportunity to introduce folks to the booming craft beer scene, but also to new things that they were doing. You know, through this series, there are a lot of new releases, a lot of collaborations that, you know, are happening but aren't happening as often. So he started this series with several of the breweries in town to promote that and promote what's going on. And, you know, hopefully somebody that's never tried a cider before leaves with a new love for cider, or if they haven't visited Fusion Brewing yet because it's new, they get a chance to go down there because there's something going on and it gives them an excuse to go check it out. So it's been going on for several years and continues to grow each year as far as length of time and number of participants. You know, there's over 55 events this year, which is great, and, you know, it really brings in what they're doing. But each year they try to just get with the breweries and see what they want to promote and what they're trying to advocate for and go from there. So there are so many events, and again, there are some that are at breweries and not at breweries, so you can kind of pick and choose. I mean, hopefully you can make it to all, but that's quite the 10-day schedule that you'll be having. But Ethereal is doing a Trials of the Sun Warrior release. Country Boy and West 6 are going to release another version of their country western, which is always a favorite. And the Country Boy Georgetown location's doing a beer cheese contest associated with this. Alltech is doing their home brew off and Pro-Am beer festival this year. Mirror Twins doing a big bottle release. Blue Stallion has Test Batch Tuesdays that they're running throughout the series. Fusion Brewing's releasing a mango guava sour, which is called Petri Dish and sounds pretty cool. And then West 6 is doing one of their West 6 for a Cause events to benefit Broke Spoke with Wenchel's, and they're doing a big beer dinner, which should be fun. So from the guest perspective, they love it because, you know, these events are easy to access and they're accessible by all. Obviously, you do have to be 21, but outside of that, there's no limits and there's no exclusions as to who can attend, which is great for them. And it's one of those scenarios where they might not necessarily show up to try a cider beer on their own accord, but because there's something going on, they'll go. It's part of a series. And they're excited about it, their friends are going, and it becomes a big thing, which makes it a little bit more appealing to go out and try something or go to a new place that you haven't been. From the brewery's perspective, I think they kind of see it the same way. It gets folks out that haven't been to their spot before, but it also gets people to try something that they maybe wouldn't necessarily be apt to try on their own. So, you know, they like the exposure and the awareness, and you know, having this series where everyone's talking about is craft beer. And the hope for them is that someone comes and tries it and then becomes a longtime regular guest. So the full list of events is on the Lex Beer Scene website, which is lexbeerscene.com/LCBW, which is Lexington Craft Beer Week. And it's got the full list of events there and links to each location or event or brewery's details. And then you can also find that information on Facebook. We've got a Lexington Craft Beer Week event that you can join, which will send regular updates on new announcements and goings on throughout the 2-week period, which will also tag, you know, the locations and all of that. And of course, if you've got a favorite brewery, you can follow their social media pages and find out details on their events as well.
Another local event this week is the Kentucky Sheep and Fiber Festival back at Masterson Station Park this weekend for its 10th year. Here's what it's all about.
I'm Amber Lou Allen with Lexington Parks and Recreation, and this year is the 10th anniversary for the Kentucky Sheep and Fiber Festival, which will be held at Masterson Station Park in the fairgrounds on Saturday, May 18th and Sunday, May 19th. Saturday is from 9 to 5 and Sunday is 10 to 4. We also have workshops all day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And those workshops, the whole festival is kind of like the popular farm to table. This is what we call sheep to shawl or animal to shawl. And we have all different kinds of fiber animals that are on site, and then the products that artists make from their fleece and wool and fur. So we have bunnies, Angora bunnies, llama, alpaca, and of course sheep. And then we have 100 different vendors who have created beautiful yarns of all of those different kinds of fiber. And so you can learn how to do some of the skills needed for if you aren't already, or you can hone those skills. If you are already a knitter or already a fiber working person working in fiber, you can go to some of the workshops and learn some of the new skills or better your skills. Or if you're a beginner, there are things for beginners as well. And then you can go inside and buy the beautiful yarns and beautiful felts and things that you would need to create these products. But if you're not a knitter or a person who works with yarn and fiber, we have something for everyone. There is, for kids, it's a great thing because of all of the animals. There is sheep shearing, and they talk about the industry. There are wonderful food vendors on site. We have lots of demonstrations of spinning, carding, all of the processing that has to happen with the fiber once it comes off of the animal. So you get to see that full range of what it takes to get the yarns and the fibers that we use every day in our lives. So it's a wonderful educational opportunity for kids to come out and see this full range of activities. Saturday, May 18th from 9 to 5 p.m. and Sunday, May 19th from 10 to 4 p.m. The workshops take place all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you go to KentuckySheepandFiberFestival.com, you can sign up for the various workshops and see all that are happening. There's weaving, there's felting, there's knitting, there's basket making, there's all different kinds of workshops taking place on those 2 days. And then we run a shuttle from the fairgrounds to the stock dog trials, the Bluegrass Stock Dog Trial, which is also here in Masterson at the same time, where you can see the dogs work the sheep. So that all of that is that same weekend, and it's a wonderful way to come out and see our agricultural community and all the different aspects of the sheep industry. It is $5 for admission. Children 12 and under are free. All of the workshops require registration, which you can find on the website, KentuckySheepandFiberFestival.com. Some of them are full, but we still have a lot of openings in many of them. So you can take a look at that menu of offerings and pick something and learn a new skill, and then buy the products that you need to create that piece of work.
Chris Edwards brings us our live weekly meeting coverage preview. Chris?
Thanks, Neil. The Chamber is going to be very busy this week with lots of meetings to tell you about. All can be seen live here on Lex TV. First, on Monday, May 13th at 1:30 p.m. will be the Board of Adjustment meeting. On Tuesday, May 14th, the Council scheduled a special General Government and Social Services Committee meeting to start at 11 a.m. The topic of this meeting will be about homelessness. Now, because this is a specially called meeting to discuss homelessness in Lexington, this is the only topic that can be discussed during this special meeting. At 1 p.m. on Tuesday, the regular Council General Government and Social Services Committee meeting will be held. During this committee meeting, there will be a presentation of a compensation review study of the Lexington-Fayette-Irving County government's resource recovery operators. Then at 3 p.m. during the council work session, there will be a presentation called First 5 Lex, Read, Talk, Play from Cradle to Kindergarten. It looks like this will be about the development of our very young children here in Lexington. Now, moving to Wednesday, May 15th at 2 p.m. will be the Irving County Arts Review Board. And finally, on Thursday, May 16th at 6 p.m. will be the formal council meeting. Just a reminder, for the week of May 20th, there will be no council committee or work session on Tuesday, May 21st, due to this being a primary election day. So be sure to let your voice be heard and get out and vote. Neil, back to you.
That's all for this week. You can keep up with us on social media and check out the latest traffic updates on Twitter @LexRex or catch our live traffic cams on LexingtonKY.gov. For the staff and producers at Lex TV, I'm Neil Noah, and that's it for now.